Tom here, Cymru Camper Furnitures. Just wanted to do a quick video tutorial around our Fossibot Powerbanks. So with this one, it'll be a bit of an in-depth, in detail guide, how you set it up, how you wire it up, how it's looking in your van. So we'll probably start with a brief overview, of course. Let's go wider. So this is the Fossibot F2400, meaning 2400 watts of output on your 240 volt side. So how it's composed is basically you've got your lithium battery in the bottom half, and then your inverter and controller and battery charger all in the top half, if you imagine it simply. On top then you've got your cable storage to keep everything all neatly out of the way. As you can see, we've got them all out at the moment. Two nice, easy to grab handles for when you're using it portably. We're going to briefly explain how it's going to be used in a camper van. Of course, you can use this in any situation, essentially, as it's got the USB ports, it's got the power output, it's got the 240 output, ready to go wherever you want to go. So first off, we'll start with how we get power into the power bank, and that all happens on this side. So this is where it all starts. The most common one is here, so that's your 240 household plug. We'll plug straight into here, or that'll be then via your hookup. So this will be wired into your consumer unit or one of the plugs in your van, and then when you're on hookup on site, power this plug, which then charges the battery, and it passes through that 240 power out to the 240 side, so you're not wearing down your battery while you're on hookup. So that's your first plug here, and that unplugs like so. Next up is your 12 volt or solar input. So as you can see here, we've got one of the portable solar mats, but this could be the solar panel on the roof of the van, or this portable solar panel, or a cigarette socket from inside your van. So the slowest method of charging is obviously the cigarette side of things. So that's the slowest method of charging, between 10 and 15 hours to fully recharge the battery. Although we've worked on a supercharger, as we're calling it, which ups the voltage going in, which allows the power bank to take 500 watts instead of 100 watts supplied from the cigarette. So if you hardwire it in, you can recharge 5 times quicker than that. So that's your van's charger. And then when you're semi-sunny, hopefully in the UK one day, you just plug in your solar panel, and then any excess sunlight is generated and being put into the power bank. And that's basically how you get all the power in. Next up then, we'll look on the face, and this is the controls and of course the 12 volt side of things, so everything low power. So we'll start on turning it on. So it's on at the moment, so here's your power button, which you'll just press and hold there for 5 seconds to turn it on. The silver dial alongside it adjusts the amount of input that it's receiving, so you can whack this all the way up to 1100, and that's 1100 watts only when it's on 240. So when it's on hookup or your household plug, it'll then recharge at 1100 watts at its maximum. So recharge the battery very, very quickly, an hour and a half to fully recharge. But if you know anything about batteries, you don't want to always, it's like your phone, put it on the fastest way of charging, especially if you know you can put it on charge overnight and you're not going to use it. You can pop it down. We say an average of 700 is middle of the road, so it's not the quickest to charge, but also it's not going to damage the battery and prolong your battery's lifespan. So normally they come as standard, leaving them on the 700, but if you do really need that quick charge, you know, you can just whack it up and get that power in immediately, which is good on the one-off side of things. So that's them two buttons here. Looking a bit further down then, we've got all these rubber gaskets which cover USB ports and USB-C ports. There. So you can charge your Mac, you can charge your iPad, as well as obviously your phone and any other device that takes USB and USB-C. So they go up to 100 watts of output. So to engage the chargers, you've got to push then. So everything in this white box is represented by a switch. So you turn that on, and you then get this icon here of a USB socket, which is similar to that one, to say that that's now on. And then press it again, and that goes off. Next up, we've got a light, which naturally press it and a light comes on, SOS. And flashing. And then we look at the main panel that we use in our camper van. So this then is your 12 volt output panel, which is represented by a 10 amp cigarette socket, a XT60 25 amp socket, and then we've got 2 barrel connectors, which we don't really use that much at all. You'll often find these 2 in use, or at least one of them in use, which is powering, as you can see the lead coming out of here, your fuse board. So with either of these or both of these, so the cigarette one, the negative on that one is it'll only output 10 amps of power. That means if you're running diesel heater or anything that draws a lot of current initially or as it goes along, it won't be enough to supply it. So as standard, what we like to do is run from the bigger, beefier connector, which gives out up to 25 amps of power. That then runs into your fuse box. So from here, you would wire up things like your lights will come out of here, your fridge will come out of here, your USB sockets, any other sort of 12 volt device, such as diesel heater. All be wired from your fuse port by here, and that will then drain from here, exactly like a leisure battery. And then to turn that on, you need to just press the button by here, and you can see that's represented then by a number of different icons, mainly the XT60 and the cigarette at the bottom but there. And that's the section there, and all of this then is a leisure battery in a box. But where it stands out from that is the inverter part, which sits on top of the battery, and that brings us along to this side. So by here we have things that you don't often see in camper vans unless you're on hookup, which is your 240 power. So another little button just at the top of here, and that's represented then by this squiggly circle on the top, and that then means that off grid we can pop the kettle to go and have a brew. So yeah, it's one of the best sort of things. So just flick him on. I'll wait for the kettle to boil. But that's what we then use for putting plug sockets on the side of the kitchen, your induction hobs, your kettles. This will run up to, you've guessed it, 2,400 watts of power. So when you're looking at your camper, you don't often think of being able to run things like air ovens and things like that totally off grid. Of course, you get used to these when you're on hookup, but when you're off grid, running something like a kettle, it is going to be very, very juicy on your battery. But what you can see from this one, so we're on 28% of power, and that's going to boil or power a kettle, taking about 900 watts for about 31 minutes. So obviously on a fully charged battery, you're talking of sort of getting that up to around about sort of 1200, hour and a half, 2 hours sort of time to go. So that's a fair few kettle boils, fortunately. And same with the induction hobs. When you run induction hobs, we estimate around about an hour and a half to 2 hours worth of use. And that's obviously without benefiting from any solar while your engine's driving. That'll then obviously keep on charging up the battery. So yeah, just a quick overall and a quick brief of what all the buttons and all the bits and bobs on the power bank do. So hopefully that's been informative for you, and helping you decide if a power bank's the way to go in the future, really. Any questions, just let us know.